After the cancellation of the race of Imola due to extreme weather, we thought we'd take a look back at the 10 best F1 wet weather drives. Driving in pristine conditions in an F1 car is hard enough, but let alone driving in rain. Rain is often seen as a great leveller, a chance for car performance to be taken out of the equation, but sometimes drivers step forward, and these 10 examples certainly did. Starting off with number 10, Max Verstappen, Brazil 2016, the only driver on the list who didn't actually win the race, but this was a masterclass from Verstappen. Already we knew the Dutchman was special after winning on his Red Bull debut earlier in the year in Spain, but that performance in Brazil showed us how quick he was in the wet. Early moves on Raikkonen and Rosberg showed that the teenager meant business, but Red Bull failed gamble to put him on the intermediates as the rain intensified, coupled with a safety car to cover Felipe Massa's crash. Sure, Verstappen dumped right down the order, surely P2 or podium out of the reach. Not exactly. In the final 60 laps, Verstappen went from 14th to 3rd, and sure, the fresher tyres helped, but they don't pull off overtakes the likes we saw that day for you. Number 9, Jenson Button, Canada 2011. From lights out to this flag, this race was timed in 4 hours and 4 minutes, making it the longest in F1 history, and Button took the honour of victory from McLaren in a stunning wet drive. He qualified 7th, but the terrible conditions meant the race started behind the safety car. Not long had it gone into the pits, Button collided with Lewis Hamilton. By lap 26, the race was suspended due to the heavy rain and wouldn't be restarted until 2 hours later. On lap 27, Button was in the wars again, dropping to last place while Alonso was forced to retire, but it was from there Button delivered a sensational drive, going from 21st to first. On lap 65, he would take Mark Webber and Michael Schumacher to move into P2, while his victory was secured in the final lap after forcing Sebastian Vettel into an error. This was crazy for Button, his first win of the season, and what a way to earn it. Number 8, Lewis Hamilton, Silverstone 2008. Hamilton walked into McLaren in 2007 and almost won the championship at first attempt, but even until the 2008 British Grand Prix, doubts remained over his ability with certain fans. All that went away after this one, though, with McLaren teammate Heikki Kovalainen pinning McLaren on pole. Hamilton followed closely, but took the lead on lap 5 and never looked back. The weather was constantly changing, drivers spinning off left, right and centre, but Hamilton soldiered on as the rain continued to fall. With Raikkonen under a second behind when they both pitted on lap 21, McLaren took a gamble by fitting fresh inters on Hamilton's car, while Ferrari opted against the tyre change for Raikkonen. That turned out to be a big mistake, and Hamilton went on to win by 1 minute and 8 seconds when the rain started to fall, ahead of Sauber's Nick Heidfeld. Number 7 is Senna at the European Grand Prix of 1993. Senna was the rain master, and from the catalogue of masterpieces, you have to pick the 1993 European Grand Prix at Donington. The Brazilian icon was P5 in McLaren after the start, but completing the lap of the gods, he passed Alan Prost down the inside at the old hairpin for the lead. From there, it's complete domination on 1 by 1 minute and 23 seconds. Number 6 is Damon Hill in Japan 1904. The tragic death of Senna that year had landed relative newcomer Hill with all the pressure of delivering for Williams at Suzuka, and that's exactly what he did. His performance will go down to one of the classics as he outran an advancing Schumacher in the pouring rain. It was all the more impressive since he was driving with only 3 new tyres and one got stuck in a wheel nut. This win saw Hill reduce the championship deficit to Schumacher just a point going into the season finale in Adelaide. It was such a superhuman performance from Hill that was somewhat scared by the mental pace he went to. The last lap, I don't even remember being in control of the car. It was almost like throttle was stuck wide open. I was just hanging on, and I managed to increase the gap to my... actually, to be honest. I got out of the car and I was actually shocked because it was almost like I'd gone slightly mad in that car to go fast, and it's quite a scary thing. He said about in an interview with On Sports about the race not long ago, and it just shows what an incredible wet drive it was from him. But moving on to number 6, and that's Michael Schumacher at Spain 96. There was a time when Schumacher and Ferrari were not the quickest pairing in F1. Take most of 96 for example, but the Spanish Grand Prix at Barcelona was a magnificent exception. Despite qualifying almost a second slower than the Williams pair of Hill and Villeneuve, once Schumacher took the lead on this very wet race on lap 13, he never relinquished it. A catalogue of fastest laps saw Schumacher storm to victory with a winning margin of 45 seconds over Alesi in the Benetton. Number 4 is Senna in Portugal 1985. Esther in 85 was the scene of Senna's first pole position and winning F1, and what a win it was. The Brazilian conquered everyone in his Lotus, winning by 1 minute and 3 seconds ahead of Michele Alboretto's Ferrari, and he was the only driver who didn't that. By lap 10, he built a lead of 13 seconds. It was a truly dreadful condition, but Senna signalled for the race to be stopped. Instead, they didn't do that, and Senna won easily. But moving on into number 3, and that's Vettel in Italy 2008. Water washout weekend at Monza this was, but the performance of Vettel was no dunce squid. At this point, Toro Rosso driver and a prospect of Red Bull Academy, we now know him as a full-time world champion. This was the day he truly arrived. The race started behind the safety car, and after that, Vettel built a heavy lead in pouring rain. But even as the track dried out, he continued to stretch his lead to 12.5 seconds ahead of Kovalainen in the McLaren. It was a race that Vettel had no business to be winning in Toro Rosso, and it remains the team's only victory in F1 for quite some time, before Gasly added to it, of course, adding further glory to this remarkable underdog story. Number 2, Jim Clark, Belgium 1963. The Lotus T5 was the front of its class, but that absolutely does not take away from what Clark achieved at the old Spa. Clark started T8 after a fantastic getaway that saw the trackside personnel and spectators take a satisfaction. Clark was on his way to glory. He pulled away in damp conditions, and when it had to start to chuck it down to 24, his lead only grew further. Lotus founded Colin Chapman called for the race to be stopped and fell on deaf ears. Only on this day, Clark won by a staggering margin of 4 minutes and 44 seconds. Moving on then to number 1, that's Jackie Stewart, Germany 68. The old 14.2 mile Nürburgring was a daunting challenge at the best of times, so to add to the torrential rain fog, and it sparks the achievement at this day. Stewart started from the third row but stormed into P3 off the line. He would take the concrete take line such as the extra grip to it offered compared to the tarmac of the circuit, and after picking off Chris Amon's Ferrari and now in the Lotus of Graham Hill, Stewart built a lead of 8 seconds by the end of lap 1. It was a drive beyond anything imaginable from Stewart, who on lap 8 set the fastest lap at 9 minutes 36. For comparison, that was 15 seconds faster than anybody else. Stewart in his march simply redefined dominance, and in the end his winning margin was 4 minutes and 3 seconds. We'll never see anything like that again, and yeah, rightly so, because it was just too bloody good. But anyway, guys, that's it for here. Thanks so much for watching. To like, share, subscribe, and lots of comments down below. If you want to daily F1 news and subscribe to the channel, it's going to be greatly appreciated. Thanks so much for watching. Peace out.